Shalom, it's Izzy, your Hebrew teacher here, and this is Hebrew Chapters with Holy Language Institute. Today in our study, we are going to be reading the beginning of the 51st reading, or parasha, as we call it in Hebrew, in the Torah. This is in the book of Deuteronomy. There you can see the Latin form of the name. In Hebrew, it's called Devarim. So that's what we're going to be reading today. This is from the book of Deuteronomy chapter 29, as you can see there, starting in verse 9. If you're reading a Hebrew text, or if you're reading a translation into English done by Jewish people. If you are reading a translation into English done by Christian people, then instead of this being verse 9, it will be verse 10, just to make your reading a little more fun. And before you start complaining that there's one verse difference between the Jewish and the Christian translations of this chapter, just be thankful that Christians and Jews are reading from the same book to begin with. It's better than some other religion, say, making up a new Bible with a revised version of Israelite history, etc. So at least we're only one verse off here. There's something to celebrate, okay? So that's what we're going to be reading today, Deuteronomy 29, verse 9 to the end of the chapter. Let's take a moment to pray, and then we'll get started. Thank you, Elohim, God, for this opportunity to read your word in the language in which it was written by your prophet Moses, like 3,500 years ago. It's incredible that we can still read this language, understand it. It's incredible that the nation of Israel continues 3.5 millennia later speaking Hebrew, and a Hebrew that's very close to this. When I think of how quickly English has morphed from even Old English, from Chaucer or Shakespeare's time, just in 500 or 600 years, it's barely understandable, and yet here we are reading texts written 3,500 years ago, and little kids in Israel can still read them and understand them after so long. I think that's a miracle. I praise you for that miracle. I pray that your Ruach, your Spirit, would teach us today, show us something of you, show us something of Messiah, show us something that will not only tickle our fancies and that will be like brain candy for us, but that will also be applicable to our lives as we seek to follow you in your teachings. Thank you for that. Amen. So as I had mentioned, we are reading in Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 9. This is assuming that you have a basic understanding of Hebrew, like that you'll be able to read along. If you have no understanding of Hebrew, you'll get some stuff out of this for sure. You'll pick up a handful of words, but you won't have as much fun. If you want to have as much fun as possible, you should learn basic Hebrew reading skills. You can do that with me through the Hebrew Quest lessons at holylanguage.com. And if you've done those lessons, this will be even more fun for you. So let's begin. Atem, you, plural. Nitzavim. Root verb there is natzav, and it means to be stationed. I think it's usually translated like you're standing, and that's a decent translation. You are standing, but it has the sense not just of, like the typical Hebrew verb to stand is amad, and this is not amad. This is a verb that means standing in the sense of being like stationed somewhere. It's a little more of a fixed sense almost. So anyway, you are standing hayom, literally the day, meaning today. You're standing today. Kul chem. Root word there, kol, is all. Kul chem, all of you, plural. If you were in the south, if Moses was in the south, I guess he'd say all youans or something like that. All y'all, that kind of idea. Yeah, all y'all would actually be a very good translation of kul chem. Lifnei, literally to the faces of, meaning in front of, before, in the presence of. And here we have the name of God spelled Yod He Vav He in Hebrew. Jewish people typically don't pronounce the name of God. Jewish people will generally say Adonai instead, which means my master, and is why English Bibles usually say the Lord. They follow that Jewish tradition. Most scholars would believe that God's name was originally pronounced Yahweh in ancient Hebrew. There's even a Wikipedia article for Yahweh. If you read God's name as Yahweh, that's fine. I invite you to do that. I'll just be reading this the traditional way as Adonai. So anyway, you're standing here before Adonai, Elohechem, that's your Elohim, your God. Roshechem, root there's Rosh, which is literally head. It means like a leader or a chief. So Roshechem, your chiefs. Shivtechem, your shevets, your tribes. Ziknechem, your zakens, your elders. And the Hebrew word zaken literally means a beard. So the idea is a zaken, an elder, a senior, is someone with a big beard. V'shot rechem. That verb there, shatal, means like to someone who, like a shotel is an official. Generally, like, let's say in a legal situation, someone who carries out the orders of the court. Kol, all. Ish, and Ish is a man. Israel, Israel. So, all the man of Israel. Tapchem. Taf is an infant or toddler, a child. Neshechem. An Isha is a woman. Nashim are women. Neshechem are your women or your wives. V'gilcha, and your ger. A ger is an alien or immigrant. Asher, who is Bakerev, in the midst of. Machanecha. The verb to chana means to camp. A machaneh is a camp as a noun. Machanecha, your camp. So, Bakerev, machanecha, in the midst of your camp. Me, chotev, so that's from and then the verbal root there. Chatav means to hew or chop. So from the hewer or chopper of eitzecha. An eitz is a tree or piece of wood. So eitzecha, your chotev eitzecha is someone who is like the one who chops your wood for you. Your hewers of wood, I guess the Old English would be. Ad, literally until. Shoev, the verb to draw or pull out in the sense of drawing water. Meimecha, your mime, your water. So these would be the servants, the people that perform the menial duties that just have to get done. Chopping the wood for the cooking, drawing the water from the well. So basically, Moshe just laid out everybody. He said, you're all standing here today before Adonai. Le avracha, to avar, to cross. Bivrit, into the brit. What's a brit? It's a word that is not as popular today and doesn't have the same meaning in Western society as it did thousands of years ago in the Middle East. Thousands of years ago in the Middle East, a brit was a covenant upon which a relationship was based. It had the idea of like an indissoluble pact or treaty or agreement, and was generally entered into by chopping an animal in half, and then the people entering into the covenant relationship would walk between the two halves of the animal, and they would take an oath or a curse upon themselves that if they broke the terms of the covenant relationship, that may it be done to them as to that animal. So anyway, that's the idea of a brit. So to cross. Thanks for watching this trailer. To get this whole talk in audio or video format, go to holylanguage.com and subscribe. I'll see you there.